Malik Johnson was the kind of man people prayed would walk into their lives. Calm, kind, soft-spoken, and hard-working, he had that quiet strength that made others feel safe. At just 32, he had built a small but fast-growing tech company called Johnson Systems, right from a one-bedroom apartment in Atlanta after finishing his degree in community mentorship program. From that humble space, his empire grew. Now he had 10 full-time employees and 3 offices, one in Atlanta, another in Charlotte, and one recently opened in D.C. Folks in the tech scene called him the Southern Genius. But Malik didn't care for titles. He loved peace. He loved family. He loved doing the right thing. Despite his success, Malik remained grounded. Every Sunday after church, he stopped by his mother's place in Decatur to share dinner. On weekdays, he'd help his Uncle Tyrone pick up Malik's younger cousin from after-school care. He even donated laptops to his old high school in East Point to replace their broken-down lab. But for all he had, respect, success, stability, there was one thing missing: love. He met her on a rainy Friday in Houston. Malik had flown in for a tech conference on the edge of downtown. After a packed schedule of networking and speaking, his childhood friend Darius Knight dragged him into a boutique to shop for a sharper jacket. That's where he first saw her, Ariel Washington. She wore a mustard yellow dress that hugged her curves. Her smile was warm and her voice had the rhythm of honeyed jazz. Her nails were a delicate rose color, and her confidence filled the room without her trying. She helped Malik pick out a jacket, then lingered to chat. They exchanged numbers. That night, Malik couldn't sleep. Her voice replayed in his mind, over and over. Something about her felt real. Yes, she was gorgeous, but it was more than that. She had that presence, that magic. The next morning, she texted him. He smiled at his phone for 10 whole minutes before replying. 2 weeks later, they went on their first date. Since Ariel was born and raised in Houston, she picked the spot. A no-frills soul food joint tucked into the corner of 3rd Ward. Malik chuckled when they sat down. It wasn't the fancy lounge he'd expected. Big money folks always want to eat somewhere shiny, she joked. Let's be regular today. He liked that. From there, the connection deepened. He sent her flowers on her birthday. She surprised him with a handmade bracelet. She texted him every morning with, "Good morning, my person." He found himself opening up, sharing his fears, his childhood, the loneliness that sometimes came with success. And she listened, fully, kindly. The night he finally said, "I think I'm falling for you," she smiled and whispered, "I've been waiting for you to say that." Ariel worked at a boutique in Houston as a sales rep. Her paycheck wasn't much, but Malik didn't care. He was drawn to her boldness, the way she walked into any room like she belonged there. One night she confided her dream, to open her own fashion and lifestyle store one day. Malik promised to help her, and he did. He wired her some seed money to start an online version. It was only 6 months later that he introduced her to his parents. His mother was thrilled. His father was a little curious. "She's a Houston girl?" his father asked. Malik nodded. "Yes, sir. But more than that, she's kind-driven. I think you'll like her. I've always believed in love that bridges differences. Different cities, different backgrounds, different families." And his parents trusted his judgment. When they finally met Ariel, they understood why. She was charm in heels. She smiled. Wide served food with both hands and even called his baby niece Princess. Everyone said the same thing. They're perfect together. On Instagram, they looked like a love story in motion. People commented, "God when," and "Y'all are the dream." But sometimes, even in dreams, shadows linger. Their love blossomed quickly, the kind that made time feel like it moved differently. What started with texts turned into late-night calls, then weekend visits. Malik flying to Houston, Ariel riding Greyhound to Atlanta. They met halfway sometimes, just to hold hands and laugh over pancakes in cheap diners. Malik loved the simplicity of it all. He wasn't into flash. Ariel, on the other hand, had a little sparkle in her eyes for the finer things. She'd scroll through Instagram and show him pictures of designer bags and big weddings. Someday, she'd whisper, "I just want to have a boutique on the main strip in Houston. Custom clothes, velvet curtains, mannequins dressed like queens." "You will," Malik promised. He meant every word. She didn't talk about her family much. All Malik knew was her father, Pastor Vernon Washington, was a respected church leader in Houston, and her mother was more socialite than homemaker, always hosting fundraisers, always keeping up appearances. Still, Malik made an effort. He flew down one weekend just to take her parents out to dinner. Her father was polite, if a bit distant. Her mother commented on his suit, said she expected a bigger watch on a tech CEO. Malik laughed it off. But a quiet voice inside him took note. Ariel always said she loved his humility, how grounded he was. But sometimes her words slipped. One night, while they were out with her friends, Ariel joked, "Chile, I'm lucky he's so sweet, even if he talks like he from the woods sometimes." They laughed. Malik did too, but the laugh stuck in his chest. There were more signs. Once, after meeting his cousin Naomi, Ariel said, "Y'all really like them African names, huh?" She chuckled like it was nothing, and when he cooked her, his mother's famous spicy collard greens, she picked at them and said, "Whew, I'm not built for this southern stuff." Still, he let it go. Because he loved her, and he believed love was about growing together, learning each other, making space. So he kept showing up, kept calling, kept planning for their future. He even helped Ariel redesign her online store and invested in photo shoots and brand strategy. She began to glow, walking with new confidence. One afternoon, while scrolling through her messages, Malik caught a glimpse of a chat with her friend Tony. She had typed, "Girl, the boutique life is fun, but I'm trying to upgrade. Once Malik gets me into LA Fashion Week, it's over." He ignored it, told himself it was ambition, not scheming, told himself, love makes people dream big. That's good. Then came her birthday. Malik flew her out to DC and reserved a rooftop table at a quiet spot overlooking the city skyline. The breeze danced around them. A violinist played her favorite Beyoncé ballad. Malik got down on one knee and opened a small black velvet box. Ariel gasped, then she laughed, then she cried, and then she said, "Yes!" He slipped the diamond onto her finger and held her hand, for a long, long time. The next day, Instagram lit up. "My person." She captioned their photo. God did. People flooded the comments. "Y'all are goals. Look at Black Love winning. Power couple alert." Malik's friends called to congratulate him. His mother said prayers over the phone. His father simply said, "Just make sure she respects your people, and respect hers too." Malik promised, "She will, Papa, and I will too." But deep inside, a small part of him already knew. He was falling fast, maybe too fast, and not everything about her was what it seemed. The engagement came with glitter and fanfare. Ariel had always wanted a fairy tale, and Malik was determined to give it to her. They started planning right away. "Baby, I want it in DC," she said one night while they were browsing venues. "Not Houston, not Atlanta. Somewhere neutral, somewhere classy." Malik nodded. "Whatever makes you happy." She showed him Pinterest boards filled with floral arches, gold-lined invitations, and designer gowns. She wanted 5 outfit changes, 2 cakes, one shaped like a Yoruba crown, the other like an African-American church fan, and a celebrity saxophonist who trended on Instagram for playing Can We Talk at a billionaire's wedding. Malik said yes to it all. Even when the bills started to pile up, even when his father pulled him aside one day and said, "Son, are we planning a wedding or funding a film festival?" Malik just smiled. Let her enjoy. It's not like I can't afford it. But the signs didn't stop. At a family dinner in Atlanta, Malik's mother served her famous oxtail stew with cornbread and sweet tea. Ariel took one look and whispered to her sister, "Everything got greased down here." When Aunt Jackie asked her to say grace, Ariel gave a tight smile and said, "Oh, I don't really do the long prayers. Malik noticed the awkward silence, but he chuckled, changed the subject, and told himself she was just tired. At the traditional engagement ceremony held in Houston, Malik showed up with his uncles, cousins, and elders from Georgia. They wore matching African print and brought gifts, baskets of produce, fabric, jewelry, and envelopes filled with cash for bride price, Ariel's. Family smiled and accepted it all with grace. But Malik saw how Ariel barely acknowledged his mother, how she side-eyed his Aunt Naomi when she asked her to kneel and greet the elders properly. Still, he pushed the thoughts away. Weddings are stressful, he told himself. She's just overwhelmed. Then it was time for Malik's family to host Ariel's folks in Georgia for the Southern-style engagement gathering. They cooked collards, fried fish, baked mac and cheese, and sweet potato pie. The whole neighborhood came through. Ariel walked in wearing all white and high heels, wrinkled her nose, and whispered to her cousin, "Why is everything so country?" When Malik's cousin Trey brought her some roasted corn on a napkin, she laughed and said, "Chili, please. I'm not a backyard picnic girl." Everyone heard. Malik forced a smile. But inside, something crumbled. That night, his mother pulled him aside. "You sure she gonna fit in with us?" she asked quietly. "She just needs time, Mama," he replied. "She'll come around." But the doubt was starting to build. The food choices, the comments, the looks of disinterest when his family spoke. It was as if Ariel loved everything about Malik except where he came from. Yet he kept loving her. Because love, he believed, was about patience. And she had a way of looking at him sometimes, eyes soft, hand on his chest, that made him believe everything would be okay. That made him believe she really did love him, even if the signs told a different story. The wedding was just one day away. DC was buzzing with Malik's and Ariel's families arriving from across the country. The hotel they'd booked near the church was filled wall-to-wall with relatives, bridesmaids, makeup artists, hairdressers, tailors, florists, and vendors rushing to meet last-minute demands. Downstairs in the lounge, Malik sat calmly with his best friend Darius Knight going through the checklist one last time. "You ain't even sweating, man," Darius teased. "You sure you're the groom?" Malik chuckled. "I've waited a long time for this. I just want to see her walk down the aisle." He tapped the small velvet ring pouch in his pocket again, making sure it was still there. Meanwhile, upstairs was chaos wrapped in designer lace. Mama Johnson, Malik's mother, moved back and forth between the bridal suite and the hotel kitchen. She checked on the caterers, made sure Ariel's family had everything they needed, and tried to help with the little things. But something was bothering her. Each time she looked at Ariel, something didn't feel right. Sure, Ariel smiled. She posed for selfies. She laughed with her bridesmaids. But the second she thought no one was watching, her smile would drop. Her eyes looked flat. Her body language screamed uninterested. At one point, Mama Johnson touched her gently and said, "My daughter, you don't seem excited." Ariel gave a strained laugh. "Oh, Mommy, I'm just tired, all these preparations." But it didn't feel real. Later that evening, Malik stopped by the suite with fruit and some bottled smoothies. The door was slightly open. Just as he raised his hand to knock, he heard voices inside. Ariel and her bridesmaids, Tony and Brooklyn. "Girl, you really made it," Brooklyn laughed. "Boutique sales to tech wife, God is good." Ariel laughed too. "Please leave me." "No, for real," Tony said. "You better make sure this man sets you up nice before you bounce." Malik smiled faintly, thinking it was just girl talk, harmless. Nothing serious. He knocked. The room fell silent. Then the door opened. Ariel rushed to hug him. "Oh, look at my future husband," she said, sweetness thick in her voice. Her friends smiled wide and greeted him with excitement. Malik handed her the drinks, kissed her forehead, and left. Downstairs, Darius was waiting for him with a suya platter. "She okay?" Darius asked. Malik hesitated. "She's tired, but she'll be fine." But even as he said the words, he didn't fully believe them. Because the laughter he heard upstairs, it didn't sound joyful. It sounded like a performance, like he was the punchline. Still, he shook it off. "It's just pre-wedding jitters." Emotions run high. Women say things they don't mean. He sat back down and opened his wedding planner app again. The DJ was confirmed. The vows were printed. The transportation was on schedule. Everything was set. He looked out the window and whispered to himself one more time. She loves me. That's what matters. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows of the church. The decor was breathtaking. White and gold everywhere, silk ribbons dancing in the breeze from the fans, and tall flower pillars lining the aisle like something out of a royal dream. Guests in custom-tailored suits and flowing African print dresses filled the pews. Phones clicked. Laughter echoed. Ushers directed family members to their designated rows. The choir rehearsed one last time, humming soft harmonies that floated like incense, and Malik stood at the altar, hands folded calmly in front of him, nodding politely to well-wishers. But inside he felt a strange tightness in his chest. His smile came slowly. His breathing felt heavier than usual. "I just need to use the restroom real quick," he whispered to the coordinator and quietly slipped out a side exit. The hallway was nearly empty. Most of his family had already left for the church earlier, and only the bride's party remained at the hotel, finishing up their makeup and photos. Malik didn't wait for the elevator. He took the stairs two at a time, letting the movement calm his nerves. After relieving himself, he turned the corner back toward the stairwell, passing right by the bridal suite. The door wasn't fully closed. Voices floated out, loud and relaxed. He paused. Then he heard her. "Ariel. Please, y'all, let me just enjoy this money first," she said, her voice unmistakably clear. Malik froze. The next voice was Tony's. "Girl, 1 year max. Get that store, get the lifestyle, then bounce." Laughter followed. Then Ariel again. "You really think I married a guy with that country drawl for love? Chili, I'm doing this for my future. I've already told Dio I'll be free by next year." Malik's head spun. Dio? Her ex? Brooklyn giggled. "But sis, you said you can't even stand Igbo men." "I can't," Ariel laughed. "But I'll endure, for a year. Just long enough for him to set up a proper boutique in LA or Houston, then I'm out. Dio's changed. He loves me. I've always loved him." Malik stood outside that door, breath caught, hands trembling. His heart beat against his ribs like war drums. His mind blurred. He reached for the wall to steady himself, blinking hard as her next words stabbed even deeper. His family? Lord, bush people. All that southern this, African that. I can't breathe around all that boiled leaf food and tribal talk. I need to be in LA, not some village barbecue with a goat in the backyard. More laughter, and then silence. Because Malik had stepped away, step by step, back down the stairs, and into the church's side garden, behind a delivery truck filled with leftover floral arrangements. He stood there, hidden from the crowd, shoulders shaking. His phone trembled in his hand as he called Darius. "Yo, bro. You good?" Darius answered, confused. "Where are you? The wedding's about to start." "I heard everything," Malik said quietly. "Everything. She doesn't love me. She said she's marrying me for my money. She called my family bush people. She said she's leaving in a year and going back to Dio." Silence on the line. Malik. What? Clear, as day. Her friends were hyping her up. They were laughing about it. Darius let out a low, stunned breath. "Where are you?" "Behind the church. I can't walk into that building, D. Not like this." "I'm coming." Malik ended the call. He looked up at the bright sky, but all he could feel was darkness. Everything he believed in shattered in the time it took her to laugh, and behind the perfect church doors, people waited for a fairy tale. They had no idea that the truth was about to walk in, wearing a suit, holding his dignity like a sword. Darius arrived, within minutes jogging around the back of the church to where Malik sat beneath a large oak tree. Malik didn't move. His eyes were distant, his face expressionless, but his fists were clenched at his sides. Darius sat next to him silently, No questions, no lectures, just presence. After a moment, Malik finally spoke. I wasn't even trying to find anything out. I just went to use the bathroom, man. He inhaled sharply, voice trembling. Then I passed by the room, and I heard it all. Darius turned his head, slow and deliberate. Heard what, exactly? Malik's eyes darkened. She said she's marrying me for the money. She called my family bush people. She said she's giving it a year, then she's bouncing back to her ex. Dio? Malik nodded. Darius tightened his jaw. That same Dio that cheated on her, right? Ain't this the clown she cried about for weeks? She said he changed, Malik replied bitterly. Said she's always loved him, that I was just a stepping stone. Darius stood up, pacing. After everything you did for her, the support, the love, you helped her build that damn online boutique. You took care of her like a queen. I gave her everything, Malik said, his voice hollow. And she was laughing with her friends about leaving me. Darius stopped, his face twisted with rage. Cancel it, he snapped. Shut it all down right now. We're not going through with this sham. Malik looked down. If I cancel it like that, she'll flip the narrative. Her folks will play dumb. She'll make it seem like I got cold feet. She'll walk away with sympathy and I'll be the fool. Darius narrowed his eyes. So what are you thinking? Malik's eyes lifted, calm, clear. I want her to face it, not just me, everyone. I want the truth out, not for drama, but for dignity. Let her own what she said. Darius rubbed his chin, thinking. Then we do it smart. He reached into his camera bag, pulled out a small lapel mic and a pocket recorder. Let's get it all on record. Within the hour, Darius was back at the hotel in jeans and a casual tee, camera around his neck. He knocked on the bridal suite, grinning. Ladies, just need a few shots for the behind-the-scenes wedding vlog. Candid, fun stuff. Won't take long. Ariel rolled her eyes, adjusting her robe. We're already late, Darius. It's for the memories, he smiled. Y'all want to go viral, right? They laughed and posed, wine glasses in hand, playing along. Let's do something cute, Darius suggested, flipping the camera. Ariel, pretend it's 1 year into the marriage. You got the boutique, you're living large. What's your life like? Ariel grinned. She picked up her wine glass, twirled in her robe, and toasted to the mirror. Cheers to soft life. I endured that man's accent and his goat meat for a whole year. Now I'm free. Laughter exploded around her. Brooklyn shouted, No more collard greens and church fans. Ariel nodded, now seated, crossing her legs like a reality star. Finally, I can go find a real man. Not someone with a backyard and a mama who makes her own shea butter. Darius kept the camera rolling. He had already slipped a second recorder under a makeup bag on the dresser, and when he stepped out of the room to check on the coordinator, he didn't go far. He waited in the hallway. The mic kept running. Inside, Ariel's voice turned soft but still audible. I just need this marriage to look clean on paper. No drama. Once I have the shop and the final funds, I'm out. Girl, you sure about Dio? Brooklyn asked. He's back, Ariel said. And I love him. Always have. Malik was just sent to elevate me. Darius closed his eyes, jaw tight, and then he left. He returned to Malik 30 minutes later with the recording. I got it, he said simply. Malik looked up. His eyes were tired but steady. Everything? Darius nodded. Every word. They didn't hug. They didn't smile. They just stood in that silence together. And in that silence, Malik found clarity. He wouldn't go to that altar to become a groom. He would go to become a truth-teller, with dignity and proof. The church was packed. Guests swayed gently to the music as the choir sang a slow, soul-stirring hymn. White and gold ribbons fluttered from the pews, and soft candlelight bathed the room in a romantic glow. The flower girls waited near the entrance, holding baskets. The photographer snapped pictures of guests smiling, fanning themselves in custom, lace and Ankara fits. Phones were out, hashtags were ready. Johnson Wedding 2025, everything looked like perfection. But Malik stood at the altar like a man made of stone. His mind wasn't on the music or the flowers or even the friends who smiled at him from the front row. He was thinking of her voice. Ariel's voice saying she was using him. He was thinking of her laugh, of Dio, of his mother who had once asked, "You sure she's for you?" He was thinking of the truth. Behind him his father sat, jaw set. His mother clutched her purse tightly, eyes never leaving her son. Darius stood at the back of the room, phone in hand, nodding once when Malik looked over his shoulder. It was time. The organ swelled. The bridal march began. All heads turned. Ariel stood at the church entrance in a breathtaking white gown. Lace bodice, flowing train, flawless makeup. She smiled, glowing with confidence as she walked slowly down the aisle, holding her bouquet like royalty, guests whispered. She's stunning. A perfect bride. This is like a movie. She reached the altar, took Malik's hand. He barely held it. She leaned in. "Why you so stiff, baby?" she whispered, still smiling for the cameras. Malik didn't respond. The pastor stepped forward. Today is a blessed day, a day of love, unity, and lifelong commitment. Marriage is not just a contract, it is a covenant. The room hushed. He smiled at the couple. Malik, Ariel, before we begin the vows, is there anything you'd like to say? Malik raised his hand gently. Excuse me, Pastor. The pastor blinked. Yes, son? Malik turned to the crowd, his voice steady, calm, strong. Before we go any further, I need to share something with all of you. The room froze. Phones lowered. People exchanged confused glances. Ariel's smile faltered. What are you doing? She whispered. Malik reached into his pocket, pulled out a small Bluetooth speaker, and placed it on the pulpit. He pressed play. At first, laughter. Then Ariel's voice, loud and clear. Let me enjoy this money first. After 1 year, I'm done. You think I'm marrying that accent for love? Gasps. More laughter from the recording. Dio's waiting. Malik? He's just a step up. His people? Please. I can't keep eating goat soup and pretending I care. Ariel's parents turned ghost white. An aunt dropped her fan. Someone in the back whispered, My God. Ariel stood frozen, eyes wide, mouth open. Her hand trembled. Malik stopped the recording. He looked out at the congregation. Family, friends, elders, strangers. This, he said, voice firm, was supposed to be the beginning of something real. But it was never real. I loved her. I honored her. I respected her family. I supported her dreams. What I got back was a lie. A plan. Ariel grabbed his arm. Malik, please. It's not what it sounds like. He pulled away gently. Don't. He reached into his coat pocket, took out the wedding contract, tore it in half, and dropped the pieces on the ground. I'm not a fool, and I won't become one today. Then he turned, slowly, and walked down the aisle. One step at a time. People stood aside for him, stunned into silence. No shouting, no insults. Just quiet shock. His parents rose at the door to meet him. Darius followed behind, and together they walked out of the church, leaving Ariel alone at the altar. Bouquet in hand, dress glittering like a lie under the soft lights. The church stayed silent long after Malik walked out. Ariel stood frozen at the altar, bouquet slipping from her hand and landing softly on the marble floor. No one moved to pick it up. No one whispered words of comfort. The choir had gone quiet. The candles still flickered, but the warmth had left the room. All around her, guests began shifting. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Some avoided eye contact. Some picked up their handbags and quietly slipped out through the side aisles. Tony and Brooklyn, her ride-or-die bridesmaids, the ones who'd laughed and toasted with her just hours ago, didn't come forward. They avoided her eyes, backed away, and melted into the departing crowd like ghosts. They didn't want to be remembered. Not as accomplices, Ariel turned toward her parents. Her mother looked devastated, clinging to the edge of a pew as if it would help her stay upright. Her father, Pastor Vernon Washington, stood like a man who had just watched his entire congregation walk out on him mid-sermon. His face was blank. His shoulders sagged. His jaw clenched tightly. He didn't speak. He didn't move toward her. Instead, he turned around slowly and walked out of the church, his head shaking in slow, quiet shame. Ariel was left behind, the centerpiece of a shattered event. Her once perfect wedding dress now felt like a costume. The glitter no longer sparkled. It mocked her. Her makeup began to smudge under the church lights and the weight of humiliation. She wiped her cheek, leaving a dark smear that only made her look more undone. She stood in silence, and then finally, she turned and walked down the aisle alone. No applause, no music, no camera flashes, just quiet disgrace. Outside, Malik sat in the back seat of his cousin's car, door still open. His mother sat beside him, holding his hand, her other hand clutching a folded church fan she never got to use. His father sat in the front seat, arms crossed, eyes forward. Darius slid in next to him in the back. No one spoke. They didn't need to. The car pulled away from the church slowly, followed by two other family vehicles. The atmosphere wasn't filled with embarrassment, it was filled with something deeper. Dignity. Because Malik hadn't just escaped a wedding, he had escaped a lifetime of lies. They arrived at his cousin Che's house just outside D.C., a modest, two-story home filled with warmth and the smell of collard greens from Sunday prep. Che opened the door and hugged Malik without a word. Inside, his aunts greeted him quietly. One handed him water. Another placed a plate of food in front of him. He didn't touch it. His father finally sat down beside him. "You did good, son," he said softly. "You didn't scream. You didn't curse. You didn't humiliate her." "I feel empty," Malik whispered. His mother placed her palm gently on his back. "That emptiness will pass, baby. What you did today, that was strength. You saved yourself." Darius patted his knee. "You didn't. Just walk away, bro. You stood for something, for all of us. You reminded the world that love should be real, not a transaction." That night, Malik sat alone in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. No wedding, no honeymoon, no first dance, but also no pretending. There was only truth. Peace and family. Sometimes, that's all a man really needs to start again. Ariel couldn't sleep. She lay on top of her still-made bed in her childhood room, the one her mother used to keep pristine for visiting guests. Her white wedding gown was crumpled in a heap on the floor, no longer elegant, just fabric without meaning. Her face was streaked with half-melted makeup. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through her phone. Notification after notification. Mentions, tags, comments, clips, everywhere. The recording from the church, the one where Malik played her voice for all to hear, had gone viral. Someone in the crowd had posted it on TikTok before she even left the building. He walked away with class. This is what self-respect looks like. Not all kings wear crowns, but this one does. Hashtags exploded across platforms. Runaway groom, bride caught live, dignity, over drama, soft life gone wrong. Even gossip blogs picked it up. Black tech CEO exposes bride at altar, leaves wedding with grace. The comments weren't kind. Used him. You don't insult a man's roots and expect a fairy tale. This ain't just disrespect, it's betrayal on a cultural level. Ariel tried to call Brooklyn. No answer. She tried Tony. Switched off. She sent message after message. "Please, I need to talk. It's all being misunderstood. You said it was a joke too." None delivered. Her friends had ghosted her, the same women who toasted to soft life and mocked Malik's accent just 24 hours ago, now didn't want their faces attached to hers. Even her makeup artist, who once begged for a tag on Ariel's Instagram, had untagged all photos and taken them off her profile. And then came the worst blow. Her father hadn't spoken a word since they returned home, not during the drive. Not during dinner. Not while she sat at the table pretending to eat. Just silence. That night, he finally emerged from the living room with his phone in hand, eyes sunken, face blank. He showed her the email. It was from Johnson Systems, Malik's tech company. Due to recent developments and internal restructuring, the partnership proposal has been withdrawn indefinitely. That partnership was supposed to be the lifeline for her father's logistics business, a deal that would have brought him into the modern age with new software, new funding, and national exposure. Now, gone. And he didn't shout. He didn't slam anything. He just walked back to the couch and sat down in silence, like a man who had lost something bigger than money. Ariel opened her messages again. She found Malik's name. She typed, "David, please. I'm sorry, please, let's talk, please." She hit call. Nothing. Blocked. She checked WhatsApp. Last seen. Gone. Profile picture. Gone. Blocked there too. Instagram. He had erased every trace of her. No rants, no posts, no clapbacks, just silence. And that silence, it cut deeper than any insult could have. Meanwhile, across town, in his cousin Che's quiet home, Malik sat on the back porch, scrolling through his own messages. Classmates, old friends, strangers, all saying the same thing. You handled that like a king. Respect, bro. Dignity is louder than revenge. He didn't smile. He didn't repost anything. He just sipped his tea and stared out into the quiet orange sky of a setting sun. Inside, Mama Johnson made cornbread for dinner. Darius sat on the couch watching basketball with Malik's uncle. Peace filled the space like incense. You okay? Darius asked from across the room. Malik nodded once. I will be. The noise faded. The hashtag slowed down. The gossip blogs moved on to new scandals, new heartbreaks, new brides with broken promises. But in Malik's world, the quiet stayed. Not the kind that makes a man feel alone, but the kind that makes space to breathe. 6 months had passed. No flashy rebound. No interviews. No viral videos from Malik. Just silence and steady living. He poured himself into his company, streamlining operations, mentoring interns, and investing in a coding boot camp for underserved youth. But beyond work, he kept to himself. Until one day, he packed a weekend bag and drove back to Georgia, not to his corporate office in downtown Atlanta, not even to his parents' house, but to a small rented apartment on the edge of Stone Mountain. Quiet place, near the trees and the sky. He didn't need distractions. He needed space. And that's where he met her. Nia Thompson. She was a volunteer teacher at a small neighborhood youth center, the kind of woman who wore natural curls, eyeglasses, too big for her face, and always carried a pen behind her ear. Her voice was soft. Her smile came slowly but genuinely. The first time they met, she greeted him while marking homework by the hallway window. "Good afternoon, sir," she said kindly. "No need for sir." He smiled. She chuckled lightly, adjusted her glasses, and went back to grading. Over the next few weeks, their paths kept crossing. Malik donated some old laptops for the after-school program. Nia helped him organize a digital literacy class for middle schoolers. She translated the lesson plans into simpler language so the kids could grasp the basics. Malik watched her quietly. She never raised her voice. Never tried to impress. She never once asked what car he drove or what company he ran. She didn't know he'd gone viral. And even if she had, she wouldn't have cared. She just saw a man showing up, a man present. They started talking more, not about broken engagements or past betrayals, but about books, music, childhood fears, and dreams they hadn't yet dared to chase. One afternoon after class, Nia said something that stayed with him. People think love is about how fast your heart races, but maybe it's about how calm your heart feels around someone. Malik looked at her for a long time. Her bare face, her steady eyes, her peace. And in that moment, something inside him settled. Later that week, Malik sat with his parents on their porch swing, sipping sweet tea under the Georgia sun. "I met someone," he said softly. His mother looked at him gently. "She asked about your money?" "No." "She asked about the wedding?" "Never." His father raised an eyebrow. "She Nigerian?" Malik chuckled. "She's from Memphis. Grew up in a house where poetry was more important than popularity." There was a pause. "What's her name?" his mother asked. "Nia." Another pause. This time longer. "She's not Yoruba?" his father asked carefully. Malik exhaled. "No. But Papa, I'm not judging women by their last names anymore. One bad experience doesn't define an entire people. Pain should make us wiser, not hateful." His mother nodded slowly. "You're right." His father finally smiled. "Just be happy, son, that's all we want." Nia and Malik didn't rush anything. There were no big announcements, no Instagram posts, no photo shoots, just roasted corn on the porch, just late-night phone calls reading Baldwin and Hughes. Just Malik fixing her old laptop while she sipped tea and hummed gospel songs. It was slow. It was quiet. It was real. One Sunday evening, they sat on a bench outside the youth center as the sun dipped below the pine trees. "You never talk much about your past," Nia said softly. Malik nodded. "It taught me enough. I don't need to live in it anymore." She smiled. "Good. I like this version of you." He looked at her, her curls, her calm, her kindness. "I like this version too." And so, Malik Johnson learned something he had never found in a coding manual or business deal, that sometimes a broken love story isn't the end. It's the beginning of the right one. Not loud, not flashy, just honest, just peaceful. Time didn't rush Malik. He let his life unfold at its own pace. No longer chasing perfection, no longer trying to perform love for the approval of the world. He learned to cherish the small things. Jogging at sunrise, cooking Sunday breakfast with his mother, walking down quiet streets with Nia holding his hand. There was no big proposal. Not yet. There were no rehearsals for romance. Just realness. The kind that doesn't need an audience. One afternoon, Nia brought him a folded note during a community meeting. It had one line scribbled in blue pen. "Love is not who shouts the loudest, it's who stays the longest." He didn't say anything. He just folded the note and tucked it inside his wallet next to the photo of his late grandmother. Back in Houston, Ariel tried to move on, but the world wouldn't let her forget. At the hair salon, people whispered. At the grocery store, someone side-eyed her and muttered, "That's the one from the video." She applied for a job at a new boutique downtown. The manager recognized her and turned cold within minutes. Even in church, she no longer got the same smiles from the congregation. The memory of her betrayal had outlasted the trending hashtags. Not because people were cruel, but because she had mocked the very roots of the man who once loved her without conditions. She tried to reach out again, an email this time. "Malik, I know I can't undo the past, but I'm sorry. For everything. I never thought you'd leave. I thought love would overlook it all. I was wrong." She never got a reply. He didn't need to respond, because the silence had already said everything. One evening, Malik sat on the steps of the youth center as kids chased each other around the dusty court. Nia sat beside him, grading papers, humming under her breath. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if that wedding went through?" she asked gently. Malik leaned back, gazing at the sky. It was turning orange again, his favorite hour of the day. "Sometimes," he said. "But not with regret, just gratitude." "Why?" "Because that day I thought I lost everything," he replied. "But I walked away with the one thing that mattered, myself." Nia looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. And in that stillness, Malik realized something that no sermon, no school, no success had ever taught him. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes it's wisdom. Sometimes the most powerful thing a man can do is to speak nothing at all. Closing reflection. If you were in Malik's shoes, standing at the altar, heartbroken but dignity intact, what would you choose? Would you still say, "I do," or would you walk away with your silence? Because sometimes, peace is louder than love.